Welcome to Passionaire Magazine, the podcast where we talk about business, tech, food and travel, fashion, health and fitness, the arts and culture, where we want you to live your passion. Passionaire Magazine, the podcast. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me as we continue our series on looking at 5 ways empathy affects your leadership. Today, we are on part 4 of our 5-part series. Today's discussion is looking at conflict resolution. Now, we understand that unfortunately there are days of conflict, but we can look forward to its resolution. As human beings, we don't agree with everyone all the time. Even those that we love most, we don't agree with all of the time. Maybe most of the time, but not all the time. So needless to say, our coworkers, our team members, our department leaders, we may not agree with them at all times. And as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, a C-suiter, you are going to come into those moments where you are going to have to be the calm voice, the one that brings everyone back together. So let's look at 3 ways in which we can do that. The first way I would like to highlight is empathy workshops and trainings. Now, most of the time when you mention this, people have a tendency to roll their eyes because they're saying, oh no, not another workshop. Not you too, Dr. Angela, not a workshop. Yes, me too. I'm suggesting a workshop. Especially for those that you will find are having a difficult go at controlling their emotion, or they seem not to be able to communicate well with their fellow teammates. That person may be the one that needs to go to the training. Now, this would be something that you wouldn't announce to everyone. You may simply send a few people who need to go, who should go to the training. So, of course, those who need the training most, and then perhaps someone in a leadership position would also go so that they could learn how to facilitate these workshops in-house, or perhaps someone from your HR department that would also be able to go and gather some information there as well to be able to implement it in your workspace and make it a part of your work culture as well. So when you introduce empathy workshops and training sessions for an entire team, these sessions can actually help team members develop a deeper understanding. And that's what you really want to develop, right? A deeper understanding of each other's perspectives and foster a culture of empathy within the workplace. And many times when you foster a culture of empathy within the workplace, you're also helping them foster a feeling of empathy when they return home as well. Many people take what they learn at work and use it in other parts of their lives, right? It's really kind of hard for some to compartmentalize. You learn something and you want to be able to utilize that new knowledge. So in order to do that, you are now looking for as many places where you can implement this new knowledge that you have, this new negative wisdom. So what you're doing is not only assisting your team members in the workplace, but you are potentially assisting them in other work spaces in which they are working as well. At home, at church, houses of worship, wherever they may be, in their sororities, fraternities, associations, organizations, and you are enabling them to become the best version of themselves. So why is that important? Because the more they utilize the information that they have just learned, then the better they are going to be at work. Right? Many times, the conflict that someone displays in the workplace may not even have to do with anyone in the workplace. It's someone or something else that really has them in a negative headspace. And unfortunately, their workplace, that team member, that coworker, is the person that kind of ends up getting some of the brunt of that negative emotion. So by building empathy as the core value, you're creating a foundation for more compassion and understanding. And when you do that, you'll find that the interactions with all team members are actually starting, the negative is starting to decline and the positivity is starting to increase. So you're reducing the likelihood of conflict and you're enhancing the team's overall cohesion. And that is really beneficial to you, especially as that team's leader, director, whatever title you go by. It is so important to have that cohesion with your team. You're able to do more, go further, reach your goals, and really have that positive influence in the workspace and as a part of the work culture. The second point would be to have innovative communication platforms. Now, exploring innovative communication platforms or tools that facilitate alternative forms of expression. Don't worry, I'm going to go a little deeper. This could include virtual collaboration tools, anonymous suggestion boxes, or even creative brainstorming sessions that would include to the whiteboard, right? Where everyone gets to, or in the round table, they get to express themselves. Or perhaps you want to do this on a digital platform. You want to utilize some form of collaborative tool. Now, by providing diverse channels for communication, it allows team members to express themselves. And that's part of your goal, right? Is to allow people to express themselves in ways that they feel comfortable, but also that it is effective for not only them, but for the team. And it also potentially unveils insights that may have been overlooked in a more traditional setting. So what do I mean by that? Many times, meetings are very much the person, the leader of the meeting speaking, right? Telling the people, this is what we're going to do. This is what needs to happen. These are the numbers. This is the target. This is the goal. This is our expectation within the next 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days. This is what we need to do. Blah, 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 blah. And people are just kind of taking it in. Now, unless you like receiving your information that way, many times the information is not received fully because you may have a visual learner in the group, or you may have someone who has questions, but the last time they asked a question, they felt less than positive by the time the meeting was over. So they dare not ask a question again. Now, and for reason number next, it may not be productive. So when you're utilizing these other forms of expression, these other platforms, you are allowing someone to type what they want to say, right? But before they hit send, the beautiful thing is that they get to read what they've typed. So many times, and this even includes emails, you type out something and you go, I don't know about that third sentence. Maybe I should restructure that. Let me reword that. Let me omit that, right? There are so many times that when we are given an alternate way to express oneself other than a verbal expression, you are able to self-edit and realize who am I speaking to? Like, who is the group that's receiving this? Should I say it in this way? And again, as we have mentioned before, especially if you are dealing with a team that is intergenerational, different generations speak differently. So in one way, you may be able to speak with your family or your friends or, your peer group and express yourself one way, and it is fully and completely understood. But when there are multiple, people in a grouping, you want to say whatever it is that you have to say in a way that is going to be understood by as many people as possible. And many times when typing your answer, you are able to really go back, read, self-edit, and make sure that you are expressing yourself fully and properly. So innovative communication platforms could be the solution for you and your team when it comes to conflict resolution. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the series that I am talking about, I had the pleasure of being interviewed for Authority magazine by Cynthia Corsetti. And the topic that I was to talk about was the 5 ways empathy affects your leadership. Now, you can, of course, read the full article online, and I really enjoyed my time with her. And I thought, why not go a little bit deeper and share this article with my Passionaire magazine, the podcast listeners. I want you to be able to really not only pick up the nugget that I am sharing with you here on the podcast, but I definitely want for you to be able to go and read that article as well. So we will make that available for you too. Now, the last little bit that I want to touch on as far as conflict resolution is concerned is mediating constructive conversations. Now, again, I am speaking from the point of you are the leader of the group. I don't care what your title is. You could be manager, supervisor, up to, you're someone who is a VP at your company, or you are a solopreneur and you're dealing with independent contractors. It doesn't matter what your title is. We always have to be aware that conflict may arise when we are dealing with multiple people. And as someone in a leadership position, we want to make sure that we can de-escalate a situation as quickly as we can, but also find a solution for as many as possible. So in mediating constructive conversations, as empathetic leaders, we should try to excel at mediating, right? And we should try to excel at having constructive conversations. So when we put that together, we are able to de-escalate conflict more often instead of less often by acknowledging, and we have to do that first, right? By acknowledging and validating the emotions of those involved. An empathetic leader can guide discussions toward resolution. And that's what's important, is finding out what's really going on. Like, what is really happening? Many times it is not the surface thing that is being discussed, but it is something underneath. And in that underneath, that unearthed piece that you have that's causing the conflict in the first place, if you can get to that level, then surely you will be able to come to some form of solution. So empathy helps leaders navigate the emotional aspect of conflict, and it allows them to address not only the tangible issues, but it also helps with those underlying feelings that may be fueling the disagreement. So the smarter you are as the leader, the more empathetic you are as the leader, you will be able to learn to read between the lines for your team members. And you will be able to understand that this person may be a little sensitive about this, or this person is best at doing this, because of various things that are going on in their lives. So as an empathetic leader, you are in your mediation, you are fostering a positive and collaborative atmosphere for resolving the conflict. So if you know that there is someone, for example, that is a caregiver to an ailing parent, or if they are a single parent, or this is their weekend to co-parent and pick up their kids, and they have made you aware of this situation. And it's not all the time. It's just on occasion. They may have to leave exactly on time. So I'll use a traditional time frame of that 9 to 5, right? If they have to leave at 5 p.m., because it's time for them to bridge the gap until a caregiver is able to arrive to take care of their ailing parent, or it's their weekend to drive an hour to go pick up their kids, right? Then you, as the empathetic leader, are going to be mindful of that and not place them on the team that has to work until 8 p.m. that day, right? You're going to rotate them to next week and pull in that other person that can't wait to help, that really, really wants to be able to share their voice. But how do you do that? You have to know who is on your team. And as an empathetic leader, you are very mindful and aware of what is going on in your workplace world, in the culture that you are trying to establish in your workplace. So many times, again, by mediating and being that person there that's really going to be the bridge, the gap, the person who's going to be that calm voice, the one who's going to help de-escalate, you are so important. You are so important. Do not think that all you're doing is, playing the calm voice, that you have to police the situation. That is not what I'm saying. What I mean is make sure that you are spending time with each person, however you can do that best. And then when you're in that large group, be aware of the conversations. Pick people accordingly. And again, this isn't something that you have to, blast to everyone and say, well, I'm not picking Jackie this time because she has to go pick up her kids. That's not necessary, right? All you have to do is select your 2 people, Rob and Sarah. Okay, let's get to work. And you know why you've selected them. Not only are they capable and able, not only are they going to be great folks in that leadership position, but they are going to be able to lead on all occasions. Someone else, again, coming from an empathetic situation, if someone else is really going through a tough time, or they're going to have a really hard 90 days ahead of them, then you are going to rotate them into a position in which they are able to not only do their job at work during working hours, but that off time where they may have been available before, they're not available now, but you don't hold that against them as well because they came to you and explained their situation. There are so many ways that an empathetic leader can really work with their team members. And when you work with folks, most of the time, they will work with you. When they are able to pour in 110%, boy, are they going to step up, because they see that you acknowledge that when they need to step back for a very valid reason, you do not penalize them in any way. Instead, you are flexible, you work with them, and you realize that it is only for a short time. So I hope that this particular week has helped you when it comes to conflict resolution. Thank you again for spending time with me here today on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast, and I hope that you have an amazing week. Thank you for listening to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.